Cassie. Hello. She doesn't even know who said that. Oh shit. That's one thing about saying. Cassie. Monkey on my car.
Hunter, do you want to go ahead and start recording?
I already started.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright, so 1960s is the time period, 1960s. This artist, again 1960s, what does that probably mean the style is? Pop art, very good. So 1960s, 1970s, pop art. With this is the guy who pretty much created pop art. You need to know, one of the things you need to know is pop art stands for popular culture. Write that down for the most important information. You'll have another one, but you need to know that pop art stands for popular culture. He created this pop art movement. He started out as a graphic designer, designing for newspapers, advertisements for shoes, that type of deal. But he wanted to become famous. One of the things is he's a unique artist because most artists want to become famous for their art. Well, and be famous, but because of their art. Art was first. He wanted to just be famous, and he used art to become famous. He was more important about the celebrity status. And so he was trying to figure out, how do I break through this mold? We've got to be thinking 1950s here. It's all abstract expressionist stuff. So he was trying to figure out, what can I paint? What can I paint to create something different and cause a stir? And one of his friends was like, well, why don't you just go down to the store and buy a Campbell soup can and paint a Campbell soup can? So he's like, okay. So he went down to the store and bought all 32 varieties and painted all 32 varieties, hand-painted those soup cans. And this was kind of a big stir. People thought, oh man, this is different. First thing though, again, these are all hand-painted. This is the best one. Not really, it's this one. Actually, I don't know, but I have seen all of them. They're all on display together. One of the things he was trying to bring to light was commercial design. Someone had to design this. This is art. Someone had to design, red goes up here, white goes down here, here's how we're going to spell soup, here's what we're going to put at the bottom, here's how we're going to spell candles. Someone had to do that. And so he enlarged it, painted it large, just to bring our attention to everyday objects. No one really looks at the everyday objects. And so this became a style, big hit. His biggest thing that happened was when Marilyn Monroe died. He decided to create a painting of her. You guys have probably seen a bunch of these paintings before, correct? Yes? Yeah. Probably somewhere. Marilyn Monroe was a sex icon back in the day. When she passed away, she easily could have just been a little footnote in history. But because of Andy Warhol, she is still relevant today. She is still relevant today. He almost made her more famous because of him idolizing her after she passed away. This is screen print. Screen print is basically how your shirts are made. They have a screen. It's a mesh. They block out some of it. You have ink. You roll it over. That ink goes through the mesh and onto the either paper or fiber. And that's where the ink is. So you can recreate these fast. Boom, boom. You can change out the colors. Boom, boom. My seniors, art seniors, make shirts at the end of the year, and we actually do that in this class. But he could recreate them over and over again. Again, you guys have seen this image so many times. And it's because of this artist that she's eternally famous, but it also made him famous. Celebrities wanted their pictures done. All the celebrities. And so they would go hang out with him, go to his parties. He would paint them. By the way, this is his self-portrait. He was kind of a weird dude. He had white hair, almost looked like a wig of sorts. He'd do politicians, singers, Michael Jackson. Everyone wanted him to create a print of that. What happened was, he became this big celebrity. Where he worked, his studio, he was printing stuff. So what he labeled it was, instead of a studio, he called it the factory. The factory. And I want you to write that down for your second point. His studio was called The Factory. The Factory. was throwing these huge parties, like huge parties all the time. Anyone wanted to go there during the 1960s and 70s. And I'll be pretty frank with you, there was a lot of drugs going on. A lot of drugs. The small stuff and the heavy, heavy stuff, like LSD and that type of stuff. It was going on at the factory.
That's weak stuff.
Yeah, the weak sauce now, yeah. But what happened also at this time, technology was rising. So we have pop art. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this other style that we'll get into later. They were so hopped up on drugs that, for instance, I'm going to do this.
Like the singers back then. Matrix.
Okay, I just did that. And that moment in time, no one has done exactly that, and no one has captured that on technology. No one has captured that. It just happened, and I want to make sure that happening, people know that that happened. So I'm going to videotape it. And we're going to call them the happenings, or the beings that just happened. But they were so hopped up on drugs, they'd be doing something like someone be eating a sandwich, and they videotape that, and call it a happening, and then display it in an art museum. Alright, so there's a bunch of stuff. A lot of crazy stuff happened at this factory. For instance, one of the times, a guy got so hopped up on LSD that he jumped out of the 5th story window. Just jumped out, broke a bunch of bones. Still lived, but broke a ton of bones up there. And Andy Warhol was like, you know, well, why didn't you tell me? I would have videotaped it. He didn't care that he broke a bone. It was like, well, you should have told me that. I wanted to videotape it. It was a bean. And so, a lot of things happened. He also kind of got into some trouble. He kind of screwed over a few people a little bit. So much so that there was a woman that hated him. Hated him. She created this group. It was called SCUM, which stands for Society for Cutting Up Men. SCUM. Society for Cutting Up Men. She walked into the factory one day, pulled out of a brown paper bag a gun, and shot Andy Warhol right in the side. Finally, she fled. He didn't die. He hid underneath the desk. But that affected him the rest of his life. So if you ever see pictures of him, he looks very frail. He actually had to wear a corset to keep his body correct after that gunshot wound. And he eventually died because of complications of that. But his life was a crazy thing. But he wanted to be a celebrity, and he was. He was on TV shows. He was in movies. I mean, if there was any artist that used art to be a celebrity, it was him. I want to show you guys a little clip. This is, have you guys seen Men in Black 3?
Yeah.
Some of you haven't. There was a part of Men in Black 3 where they get a little clue, and it says something something will be at the factory. Will Smith's like, factory? Which factory? There's tons of factories. There's tons of factories. And the one guy was like, no, it's not a factory. It's the factory.
Oh,
anyone,
I've seen that part.
Yeah, anyone during the 1960s and 70s that heard the factory knew it was Andy Warhol's studio. So we're going to play a little
Some
bit here.
freaky stuff wasn't happening in there.
Oh wait, Andy Warhol, if you haven't gotten that.
Oh,
Andy Warhol.
I spelled Warhol wrong.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm not going to change it.
Warhol. Alright, so they find this, they say, oh, the factory, and they show up, and here's a little clip, hopefully it'll play. I apologize to the other class.
Excuse me, Mr. Warhol, can we have a minute? No, it's not a good time. This is a meeting. Just a few questions. Why don't you come back next week after the happening
Get it?
I'm sorry, Mr. Warhol, you like talking real slow. We got important stuff to do. I got a plan to say. You're stressing. Everything about you upsets me. Forget it, Katie. They try to blow my cover. AEW cover is said. Whoa, Andy Warhol's one of us? Say, get in your mind. I'm sorry my ears are paying. Soup cans and bananas, for Christ's sakes. Mr. Warhol, I gotta tell you, I really love your work. Oh, thank you. Who's the dumbass? Whoa! Hey, how about a little professional courtesy here? Hey, you know, I like no problem with him slapping the shiznit out of Andy Warhol.
He said shiznit.
Okay, anyway.
Excuse me.
By the way, if you guys remember the part after this, if you've seen it. There's Boraz or whatever, the bad guy. He jumps out of the window. That's referencing that actually happening in history.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of that. Which is nuts to think about. Alright, let's move on. How do you remember it? Here's the image I'm going to show you. There might be, yes, I'm sick, you might get a few cans of soup, but I have 32 here. Pretend I have 32 cans. When might I go to the store and buy a ton of food, 32 cans of food? When a war's happening. I might stock up. So this is my Warhol from the store. Warhol from the store. Warhol. Okay? Any questions on that? No?
Review?
Alright, we'll review tomorrow. So,
Okay.
make sure you're reviewing. Go ahead and work on your stuff. Yee?
Warhol.